and one. Mate, I will say welcome to my kitchen for the platform podcast today, because I've got renos for a bit of flood damage from a year ago in my other 3 bedrooms at my apartment. So that's all. Smells like paint and there's shit everywhere, and we're running a hybrid model with a headset and a camera sitting on the dining table and SodaStream air fryer, most important if you want to talk nutrition. I know nothing, but I know air fryers, and the coffee machine on the other side. And I think it's important. I would like to welcome Mr. Kurtis to the Platform Podcast. Ooh, big crowd.
Thank you.
For you. Big crowd. It's you're over in the UK. For everyone who doesn't know, you're in the morning.
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. here. Yeah,
11 a.m. Sweet. A little bit of time zone juggling. I always get it wrong. My apologies for the other week. And thinking you're a whole day behind us. Me and Brando always get that one a bit wrong. We're nighttime, so we're in the future for you. I can tell you the future is nice.
I was going to ask for no spoilers, but...
Well, I can tell you it's hot as shit in Brisbane. If your future was Brisbane at 4 p.m. today, it's about 30 degrees and 4,000,000% humidity right now.
I think it's about 4 degrees here, you know.
Fuck. Mate,
Still having to defrost the car.
Jesus Christ. I can't even imagine what that's like. But we only have one official part of this little strong thing, and it is I ask you one question and then we see what happens next. That one question is 21 words you have to answer, or sounds, to let me know who you are and what you do, and I will pretend to count them.
21, wow. I am a PhD student and assistant lecturer specialising in sports psychology and strength and conditioning. I'm also an online coach for MST Systems.
That'll work. That's super cool. PhD student. What's that process look like, if you don't mind me asking? That means you're in the learning sort of the stage, doing some sort of research, something, or rather, if I'm a little bit correct, and then what's that look like?
So I'm a research student. I'm researching the effects of psyching strategies on maximal force production.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that's cool.
So I'm getting a doctorate in getting hyped effectively. It's class.
No way. What did you have much problems trying to sell the idea that that's what you wanted to research to your university, or they were like, that is excellent?
No, so because I'd applied to go to the top sports university in our country, which is Loughborough, as well as staying on at Essex. And I, before officially applying, I went and had a meeting with my potential supervisors. And literally within 1 minute of talking to them, I was completely sold. They 100% bought into it. They were excited for it. And I had zero issues at all. The university, they gave me for a PhD student, they gave me effectively a really low offer. So in regards to what I needed to get to enroll, so there was no issues. My supervisors were proper hyped about it. One of them is actually a former power lifter. He used to compete, so he was fully behind it. The other guy's more of the sports psychology side, and he was really interested. I think because I came in with the background I do, and I'd literally stripped the research as an undergraduate, just because I don't know how much experience you have of reading studies and stuff, but sometimes you can see things and you just know they're wrong. Like you just read it and you're like, these. In all due respect, they don't have a fucking clue. They'll just get a bunch of undergraduate students, get them to do a leg extension, and before doing the leg extension, they'll literally give them a script saying, get emotionally charged up, which is something that's commonly used. And if you think of your average 18 to 21-year-old, they're not going to have a fucking biscuit how to do that. Like it's just like anything else. Getting hyped is a skill that you acquire through training and doing things. And one of the most recent reviews on the subject says that if this needs to progress further, it needs to be done on actual athletes who are experienced in this. And
Yep.
luckily that I've got more than enough contacts to be able to do that and produce a study for it.
Your reach would be wide through the MST circles and your own power, because you've done you dabble a little powerlifting yourself. One of the MST System boys, Reed Emery, who's a good friend of mine, was saying, "You are as strong as fuck."
I was strong as fuck.
Yep.
I was strong as fuck.
This PhD study is exceptional. So, my first question, which you kind of answered a little bit, was people have kind of done it, but like you said, just haven't really done it. Like if we're talking about getting hyped for a leg extension, like I don't know if that's like trying to move something maximally, right?
Well, the thing is, like they get really good output values, so the measures are almost right, but it's not specific to anything. There's been about, in my systematic review, we've pulled up 27 studies, so it's not a great deal of research been done on it.
Yep.
Out of them 27, only one of the studies, which was done by Shelton and Mahoney in 1978, which was actually the first study on the subject, conducted the experiment on Olympic weightlifters who had done at least 3 competitions.
Yep.
And then from there has been limited attempts to pull in people with gym experience, but even then, your average person who trains at the gym, there's a vast difference between a strength athlete. There has been a couple of studies on American footballers, sprinters, and combat athletes, so karate, taekwondo, and stuff. But the research is so heavily disputed. I think it is literally an even split between significant findings, non-significant findings, and of the significant findings, some say it facilitates maximal force production. The other half says it has adverse effects. But I personally believe it's all down to the research design and the participants getting used. Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, I deliberately scale back my shit so I don't go like a savage powerlifter and headbutt and dribble and do silly things. And I lift way less than when I put on, I've got my hype song I like that has some specific meaning behind it. I'll have my specific process I like to follow that gets me fired up for it. And if I could zoom out, I've even got the song that I listen to when I'm driving to the gym that gets me into that mindset for it. And there's some meaning behind that thing. To the point for myself personally, I lift significantly more. I need to, when I have those sessions, factor in the fact my recovery is so much longer, because I always say what comes up must come down, and my downside off the back of that stuff, I'm fried, but I lift exponentially more kilos. And I'd find it strange to find that you say that people have done some research and they think that it is a little bit inconclusive, and people can't say that they have found that it works.
Well, I think the issue comes from, one, again, getting people who have no experience in getting any form of hyped up. Psyching technically is also defined as any cognitive strategy that is used to facilitate performance. So things like imagery, attention focus, self-talk, all get dragged into there. They give the participants a limited amount of time, so they'll give them 20 to 30 seconds. They'll say, get charged up or get pumped up. And then they've got 30 seconds before they're doing it. Because they're trying to make everything so controlled, it's almost taking it the other direction. So I haven't actually done any experiments on this yet. It's just been a case of reviews, things like that. But
of course.
You say to a trained athlete who's experienced in getting hyped, go do it. You just know that they're going to get a much better performance, whether it's just through increased focus or arousal. They are going to improve their performance.
And it's something, I mean, would you think it's a skill as well? Like, you know, you've got to kind of learn how to do that as well to be able to trigger that response.
Yeah, and my personal belief as well, obviously this is something that I'm going to test, But my general hypothesis is that people, so if you get, and I'm sure you've come across some athletes who say they struggle getting into the zone, getting hyped,
Yeah,
it's because everyone tries to do it in the bog standard way that we've seen from the West Side Boys, from Shane, obviously, myself. People getting angry, getting hyped. But the way I kind of see it is your adverse emotions are really powerful. So for somebody who benefits from getting angry, they are probably, when it comes to when they feel strong adverse emotions, it tends to be anger that's most prominent. Whereas if you've got somebody who, like a question I'll always ask a client who gives me this is, if you get in an argument with your spouse, what happens then? What do you feel? And if there's somebody who goes alone and cries in the room or something like that, they're probably not best off trying to draw from an emotion that's not very strong for them. They need to draw from their most powerful aversive motivation, if you will. So it's not only a skill, it's also a good level of self-awareness and understanding of who you are and what can you draw from.
Yeah, that's a good point. And having a bit of, because I think a lot of people will see, and obviously they're not hard to miss, the guys and girls in the gym that are the ones that get angry and, headbutt something, and it's, death metal, crazy loud music cranking off at the same time, and they're screaming and saying a lot of profanities and stuff. Like, it's very easy to just think generally that is what you have to do. And I know from personal experience with some clients that they will say that they're like, I just can't get angry, and I always say, well, don't. That's not for you. But we need to come up with a way for you to get to that animated, aroused state, because we know it's worth kilos. You're going to lift more.
Sorry, you just cut off at the end there.
Sorry, you're going to lift more. So, I always like the idea of exploring it as a skill for everyone, and sort of recognizing, like you said, it's not anger necessarily. And even if I look at my own personal self, I'm definitely not angry when I'm doing it. If anything, I've got a smile on my face, so I'm kind of happy and joyful about the experience that's kind of happening at the time. And then music related, I mean, recently I switched to Tool, strangely. I'm not sure why I went that way, but I'm kind of enjoying Tool at the moment for the big stuff. But there's a classical piece by a guy called Ludo Vici with a piano that triggers me pretty
Which
much.
one is it? Is it...
what's it called? Man, I'll have to look it up right now.
I love listening to him while I'm working,
I used to, and then I got a phone call with some bad news around a friend, which sort of brought about some emotion for me when I was listening to that song. And then now,
is it that one?
Yeah, Experience is the song.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah. It's played in the background of most motivational videos you see on YouTube and stuff like that.
Just gets me jazzed, bro. I need to be careful around having that song on.
Avenged Sevenfold Nightmare for me. That's my go-to.
Yeah, oh wow. That's kind of cool. Do you think music or can play a part, and if there's that song, that can be the key way to trigger that response for them and then get them to cycle into that thinking?
So again, I would agree. It can be anything within reason. That music is obviously a good one because it's appropriate environment for a gym. If you've got, like you said there, experience, I probably will speak to I could speak to about 50 other guys now who love getting hyped. Not one of them would say that song would work for them. So there has to be some form of association there. For my research, I'm not allowed to include music just because it has to be a self-directed cognitive strategy in theory. I am going to try and personally redefine it, because if you're choosing to play that music, surely that is knowing the effect it'll have on you. Surely that can be counted as self-directed. But at the moment, I've got to work with the definition I've got.
Of
course. It's like one of the tools that I've used with clients. And I don't like publicly talking about it because, again, it's what I plan to do for the future. But as of the moment, there isn't any literature to back it up. So anything I publicly say, normally I'll say reference A, B, C, and D. This
Yeah, of
isn't
course.
me. This is driven from research. But something that I've dabbled with and seems to work is a technique called anchoring, which is, have you ever heard of Pavlovian conditioning? So basically what Pavlov did back, I think it was the 1800s, it might have been early 1900s, is every time he fed a dog, he rang a bell. And what the dogs ended up doing was associating the bell with food. So they'd start salivating and getting a physiological response from the external stimulus. So what I've dabbled with clients, and it seems to be quite effective, is associating something that they can take into a gym or anywhere in the world where they don't have control of external things such as music or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And they associate, like one of my clients chose a clap. They associated these feelings of their aversive response. So I did this using visualization skills and stuff. Got them associating effectively the feeling of getting hyped, whether that's from getting themselves angry, riled up, whatever works for them. And then as soon as they feel themselves going up, they clap until a point where every time they clap, they get that feeling. It's something I worked for myself with. I'm not sure how much of Shane's videos you watch, but I stole his head nod about 3 years ago and did the same tactic.
Nice.
So every time I do the head nod, even now, I feel my heart rate starting to go. So it is, again, there isn't any literature in regards to this that backs it up. There is quite a lot on anchoring and the things you can do with it. So at the moment, this is just my theory. But that seems to be quite effective.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly clever because, like, you know, the thing I do even at the gym itself is like, they're always like, I want my song. I said, but if you go to the comp, you don't get your song. And, you know, there's going to be a moment when you're going to have to disconnect from that in your headphone space where you're involved in it to put it over here. And then you're going to have all of this stuff around you happening, and you need to have something on top of that or something else that can keep you going. That's super clever trick. So just see everyone at the gym clapping everywhere.
Yeah. And it's one of those as well, because if you're going into a competition, you can't control, unless you go for earphones, headphones, but the majority of people I speak to don't like using them for obvious reasons. They fall off, you get sweaty ears, they fly out.
Of course.
So using this, and the amount of clients I've actually trialed it on as well is a small number, because obviously I don't have a great reach of people who say that they can't get hyped up. But those that have tried it with, it seems to be quite effective for a 6 to 8 week period, and then you'll need to strengthen that association again, because obviously you can't just clap forever and remain the hype. You need to keep it going, so extra visualization work and stuff like that.
It sounds. I remember seeing in the Eddie Hall doco when he went for the 500. I might be wrong or mess up what he did, but he did something similar. He saw a hypnotherapist, and they embedded essentially some sort of image or something in him, or a moment. I think it had to do something with his son and being crushed by a car or something down that path. And he does a talk through on the video, and he talks about, cool, now I trigger myself. And you almost see that state switching in the video. Obviously, elite level dude who knows how to switch on, but you just see his eyes go white and like absolutely go dark.
Yeah, so with that, the theory holds up, so you could definitely, it's not something that I'm trained to do or do, but you can definitely get hypnosis work that is quite effective for that sort of thing. Whether, how I word this, whether that is actually the case with Eddie Hall, I'm not so sure, because I don't know. It's a good story, I think, is what I take in from that personally. It might be true, it might be what he did, but Eddie is very good at the making a big deal, making something really fascinating, and all that I nearly died pulling 500 videos, again pulling in that reach of people watching. So he might have well done it. I don't know him personally. It certainly does hold up.
Have some
from a
potential there.
There is, and it is something that could be done, Whether I think that's what actually was done, I'm not as sure.
Yeah. What do you? I always tell my crew as well. There's a time and a place for this stuff. Like, and you don't. I always think you shouldn't go to the well all the time as well, because there's going to be a cost to it. Saving, whether it's the music or whatever's triggering you to get you there. Like, if it's 5x5 and it's Wednesday and we're 12 weeks out, or we're no weeks out because you're a bit flat and tired, maybe you should just listen to that body and dial back instead of getting some Diar's murder on and going level 20 on the music, because you're just going to bury yourself. Do you think there's a potential, risk for always going there and using this sort of strategy for stuff? Or
Well, yeah, fatigue for the most part.
Yeah.
If you're getting them adrenal glands shooting, there's going to be a cost to it. Mostly safe for peaks is what I'd say, but at the same time, like, we're all fucking animals. We enjoy getting a big hype on if you've had a shit day at work or something like that, or you're just not in the mood. The occasional time here and there, it's not gonna be too detrimental, even if it's for a last set of a 5x5. Sometimes you've just got to unleash the beast and
get a little savage.
As long as you're not. Yeah, as long as you're not using it to an excess where you're almost desensitizing yourself to your own methods.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was curious. I was going to ask you about. Written down is like, can you, if you do that too often, can you desensitize it? And level 10's now level 5. What do you got to do to make the next level 10? And how far have you got to go to get there?
You can very much get desensitized, because it depends what you're drawing from. So this is one of the reasons that I wanted to use the anchoring technique anyway. For the majority of people, especially initially getting started, there has to be something there that you're drawing from to get you into that state. And whether it's traumatic life history or getting bullied or something, there's only so many times you can draw from that where it doesn't have the same effect, and then you've either got to try to find something new. And as well as that, it's like anything, if you repeat the same steps over and over, it's going to get monotonous. If you draw that hype from that experiences song now, I guarantee in a year's time, you're going to, unless you really save it for the big days, you're going to need a new one. And emotionally speaking as well, unless you're changing your methods systematically, or what you're drawing from, or how you get into that state, if you use it to excess, obviously you'll get desensitized to it. But it depends where it's coming from as well. Like, if you've fully embodied that switch, which I now believe I have, I'm convinced Shane has 100% got it.
He's a savage.
You can just turn it. But if you're somebody who's having to draw from something, there's only so much you can get from each song, each memory, each imagined situation of your family getting crushed by a car. There's only so much that it can work for you.
Do you think, or has anyone done a study, or would you do a study to see if you're literally recruiting more muscle fibers to move the thing, whatever the weight is, in whatever direction it is?
So this is something that we are going to try and do in the hamstring. So for our experimental studies, we're going to get EMG to the hamstring and measure the velocity of the barbell as well at a fixed load. And ahhing about what sort of percentage we should use. Ideally, we'd want it 90% or about that area. But these athletes will be having to come in for 2 sessions to pull a 90% deadlift. Whether they're going to be willing to do that, or whether I'm going to have to drop it to about 80%. But then there's the argument: is this maximal force at this point? So it's something we're going to have to have a play about with, and maybe a chat with various athletes to see what would you be willing to do in the name of science. Because it's going to have to be.
I'm happy to lift 90% like most days of the week.
Get yourself a flight over to the UK, then we'll get you sorted out.
Mate, we're coming to Manchester in October, November. We're going to be over there for 3 weeks. I do have on my list to reach out to the MST crew and try and catch up. We got our WPC Worlds happening in Manchester, so on my list to do is come for some training sessions over that way. Definitely.
Yeah, Manchester's proper close to where Shane's based and that.
I think Reed, our boys, might even be staying with Shane as well. So yeah, super excited for that. It'd be curious to see that bus speed, wouldn't it? Like, if you're doing a test where they're, zero state, normal state, and you've got the velocity meter to see how much quicker it moves in the aroused state. It'd be super curious to see how much, do they use more hamstring? Is there more fibers getting used in that muscle? That'd be wild.
Well, again, based off previous literature, which isn't much to go off, activation, more muscle recruitment doesn't seem to be a wide variety of difference, but what there does seem to be a big difference on is the load or velocity used, the speed of the bar. But like I said, the literature at the moment is so disputed, it's really hard to tell. What I can say with certainty is using different forms of focus. So internal focus cues versus external focus cues. When you use internal, you get more muscle activation, but external cues far outperform in any form of measure, not just in strength, but in literally any sporting output. External cues far outperform internal. So instead of, if you're at a competition saying squeeze your fucking glutes, externalize that into a sense of push the ground away or something like that. Just because when it's called the constrained motor hypothesis or action hypothesis, your body, so if you're doing a deadlift, you know how to do a deadlift. It's an automatic process. You've done 200,000 of them. If you start adding cues and interfering with that automatic process, you're going to impede and interrupt that automatic flow. So a good example I use for this in class and stuff like that to demonstrate it is I'll get a student to walk up and down the room and I'll give him a cue saying, bring your heels up to your ass or focus on the toe contact on the floor. And then watching them walk again, they walk like they've had 5-6 pints. And it's because internal cues have their place, especially if somebody's learning or someone's technically wrong. You're not going for the best performance at this point. You're thinking, we need to nail down this new technique. But when it comes to maximal force or when it comes to best potential performance, you need to externalize them cues. So I'm actually going to do some content on this at some point. But if you're shit at farmers and you're running with farmers and every time you drop and all you're thinking is squeeze your hand, change that cue to just looking at the finish line and thinking, I need to get there. Because you've got big ass fucking shopping bags in your hand. You're already going to be squeezing as hard as you can. It's not like you've got them in your hand and you're just letting them rest.
You can't fucking squeeze it anymore, can you?
Exactly. And that's what, whenever you think about it, whenever you're in that situation, like when I was younger and people would say squeeze your glutes on a deadlift, I'll be trying to squeeze them. I'm like, they're already fucking squeezed here. Whereas if you just externalize them cues, the chances of performance increase.
Yeah, I think that's it. It makes sense when you say it, but I think even if you would just go to a local competition, for instance, you would see a lot more people on the internal, in the moment, yelling word jumbles at their client on the platform than giving a simple thing, like you said in the Strongman, look at the finish line.
To be fair, though, and this is where some of the arguments lay, in competition standard, especially, when you've got 100 people shouting at you, it's not like you hear each individual thing anyway. All you really need there is a noise. A bit like if you're watching football or something like. Do you watch football? if you're watching football,
we'll call it football, but it's rugby league. We've got the round ball one like you guys, but we're just not that good at it over here.
So with soccer, football, whatever you call it in Aussie, whenever there's a last minute chance or something like that, and you just hear the stadium erupt, and you can't hear what each individual fan is saying, but that noise itself brings that response. But that being said, if you do want the best performance for your athlete, just externalize cues, or if you can't think of a decent external cue for the time, just literally just scream at them.
Just put noise at them. Because that's going to help add to their atmosphere for their little moment to finish their thing, rather than you just saying glutes, squeeze your glutes, pull your shoulders back, or something else like that. Just yell at them, hey, right before they go out. Part of your testing, and this is a curious thing I thought about. Are the athletes allowed to slap themselves as a part of their stimulus to get fired up and excited for their moment?
There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to. I would personally allow it with things like, I don't know why I've got sniffing salts on my desk.
Just in case, bro.
I've got 2 more programs to write. Let's fucking go. Things like caffeine, so no pre-workouts, music. We won't be able to use sniffing salts. If you're slapping yourself in the face and that's getting you charged up, because it's still a physical body thing. Like there is one study, I can't remember who the author is, where he got the athletes to run around pumping their fists, saying that they're the best in the world. It is something that we would be able to consider as a self-directed cognitive strategy. It's as long as like other people shouting at you and creating an atmosphere as well, because that would technically be more on the social facilitation side.
Of course.
We wouldn't be able to have things like that. So it is the thing that does annoy me is because obviously we're having to go off somebody else's definition of what getting psyched up is, and that person who defined it, to be fair, he's done a lot of great work in sports psychology field. David Todd is a really good researcher, and he defined it as it has to be self-directed cognitive strategy. It doesn't include external factors like videos, music. But because I know there is other researchers who have used, like one of them used getting the footballers, example, the American footballers, they got them to watch 20 minutes of aggressive football content prior to doing a bench press. As long as that person is directing themselves to something they know gets them in that physiological state, I would argue that it's still self-directed cognitive strategy, personally. But basically, after
do you think
I've got my system,
that's rad. I think we're having some internet drop in and out, so we're talking over each other. My apologies, bro. Just something I thinking coming back to football in itself, it's a game. Obviously, there's going to be a difference in how people would get psyched up for such a long event that goes for, soccer goes 45-minute halves, something like that, and then being able to maintain that level. And I imagine in a longer sport, you would see it's a bit more up and down depending on what's happening in the game versus, with what we're doing with powerlifting and your study with deadlifting. Would you suggest that there'd be different ways that they would have to get there so they're not at a level 10, maybe at a level 7, and they can come in and out through events like that?
So I will get back to that point, but the study I was referring to, it still used its measure as a bench press, but it used something they associated with aggression. For football, so I'll talk about, do you call it soccer or is it still football to you?
Yeah, we call it soccer. If you're into football, you're calling it football, but most people here are calling it soccer.
So with soccer, because I didn't know if you were talking about another one that I don't know much about, but with soccer, getting into the game, again, starting with a bit of arousal, okay. It's just about pure game management. So there's a lot of techniques used. So, for example, with the focus of footballers, so you've in theory got like 4 different attention. So you've got broad, broad external, broad internal. So broad external is thinking of like a wide area around you. Internal is your whole body, if you will. And then you've got tunnel, internal and external. So tunnel, external, so short bridge. So like if you're thinking tennis, you've only got a very limited space. And then narrow internal. So if you're doing arm wrestling or bicep curl, again, you're focusing on that isolated motion. What you'll notice with footballers, and now you'll notice it once I've said it, is when there's a stoppage in play, you'll notice they'll go down, start rearranging their shin pad, might be going down faking an injury. Say if you've got a midfielder whose whole game plan is effectively a broad external focus, so they've got to see the whole pitch, they've got to see everything going around them, whether they've got the ball, out the ball, they've got to know where everyone is. That can get quite draining if they start to notice their focus is slipping or they're struggling to keep up with the game. What they can do is they can switch that focus to the exact opposite. So if you've got a broad external, if you then take it narrow internal and just start focusing on the feeling of the shin pad running against your shin, one, it can act as like a grounding technique, just bring you back down, give the rest of the team time to compose. But it also gives you that little brain break of saying, okay, I can focus on this and then bring myself back to the job at hand.
Wow. I mean, that'll carry across any ball sport that goes for an hour and a half or however long. The same with, rugby league's my sport of choice over here, which I quite enjoy. But the old tying of the shoelace sort of trick, right? And you see all that all the time, but you just think they're trying to slow the play down or just be a pain in the arse or just hurry the hell up.
A lot of it will be that as well, like giving the team a break, or if you've had a lot of pressure, of course, it's a useful dark arts trick. But also it is quite widely used for that reason as well.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love it. And how long is your PhD going for? Like, when would you envisage you'll see the finish line for yourself with all the study and the research?
Data collection. A lot of things can come into play. Like, obviously, I'm doing a lot of teaching at the moment as well as my job. So progress sometimes gets a bit stinted. It should be over in about 3 years' time, the PhD. But my intention is to stay at the university and carry on researching. Or if I don't stay at this exact university, I've always wanted to swan off to the southern states of America. So I might try getting a gig over there. Pays a lot better over there as well.
I bet they'll be doing some pretty next level research on anything sport related in any of the big colleges over there, right?
Anything sports related over there is just like, because they take it so seriously, because obviously they've got the college teams associated with it. Things like I was looking at the pays. It's like double starting wage in America that it is over here.
Wow.
Obviously, you've got to get the gig and stuff, but no, it's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted a big ass truck as well, so I'd be right at home over there.
That lines up pretty well as well, and like for a career progression as well. Like, that's going to give you. Would you think you'd see things done a little differently in America as well as what it's done in the UK as well? Get you a bit more broader exposure to that sort of stuff.
To be honest, with the research, as long as I either get the funding or the ethics approved, I can literally do it on whatever I want to do. So I've currently got a paper that's getting reviewed and hopefully published soon, which was a project I did regarding the sensitivity to aversive and appetitive motivations in strongmen and powerlifters. And what we found is that there's a strong correlation between the things that are linked with addictive personalities and people who participate in strongman and powerlifting.
Really?
So you've got, if you think of your reward system, your biological reward system. So first of all, I want you to get rid of the word reward. So if you think of dopamine, it's not a rewarder, it's a reinforcer. So the role of dopamine is it'll give you like a little building of feeling good. So it'll release the dopamine, that'll create a pathway. And then that pathway means that when you're in that situation, you want to do this again because that's what
Yep.
you've associated. So if you associate going on a night out with doing recreational drugs,
Yep.
next time you have a drink and you're on a night out, your next go-to is we need recreational drugs.
Of course. Yeah.
So
yeah.
if people are more susceptible to these biological factors, they're more
Yep.
likely to get addicted to things. And
Yep.
what my theory was, well, if you've got these people who are more susceptible to, literally, they've done research on gambling, sex, internet, recreational
Yep.
drugs, alcohol, smoking, but there was nothing really saying, well, does that mean they're more susceptible to... There was one study actually on business ventures, but other than that,
Yep.
there was nothing saying, well, are these people more likely to participate in sport and things like that?
Yep.
So, yeah, we found that the same things that tend to lead to addictions also lead to participation in sport. And we also found that with aversive motivation, so people who are more susceptible to anxieties and things like that, they are more likely to also engage and participate. But because we used Wilks as a measure of sporting accomplishment as well, and we found that one of the appetitive motivations called behavioral approach system drive, which was associated with quite a lot of addictions, positively correlated with Wilks score, whereas aversive motivation, despite having more participants or higher level of high sensitivity to aversive emotions compared to our control group, it negatively correlated with Wilks score. So even though we've got more people with higher aversive motivation sensitivity, it negatively correlates with Wilks score. So then that shows that, okay, if you're somebody who struggles with these things, someone like me can help you, because there was a wide population base. So if it is negatively correlating, it shows that those people who struggle with anxiety or aversive motivations of whatever form, these are things that can very easily be reversed and actually used as an advantage. So yeah, it's quite interesting. It's currently getting reviewed by the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research.
Love to see that, because I mean, when I look at the gym and the crowd that we have in there, and the around the scene of powerlifting, there's a lot of like very anxious sort of humans, but when they've got a barbell in their hands, like there's no worries. Nothing's getting to them. They're like absolute animals again. The thing that I just thought curious is with the addictive personalities. Let's say if they're doing a more negative addiction, use recreational drugs as an example, or something else. Can you then potentially use powerlifting as a way to move them away and then reshift that addiction to something else? Do you think potentially?
This is where I would like the research to lead to. So I can only go off the results I've got. So there is research that shows that there is strong associations with recreational drug, alcohol use with effectively, I forgot what the technical word is, but lack of inspiration or things to do, boredom, if you will, lack of life progression and things like that have correlated with drug use. I can't say for definite this can be a resolution for addictions and that sort of thing. I have, in that study, guided that with this information, can we test the effectiveness of this? That would be more a psychiatrist researcher role, I should think. But my way of thinking about this topic is, if you've got a group of addicts and the current things that are out there, that there are slight links with getting addicts into sport and stuff like that. But I think it doesn't even necessarily have to be strongman powerlifting, but the way I think of it is, if you've got these people who are highly driven, they are just driven at the wrong thing. Like, if you think about what some people who are addicted will do to get to their fix, if you could train that mentality, and I know that there's a lot of things, homeostasis, they need this drug to stay functional and stuff like that. But if you take that aside, because gambling addicts, they necessarily don't have that biological issue or chemical issue of putting a drug into them. But if you can take that drive and just put it into something that's self-fulfilling, that's personal development, these people are more likely to, in theory, based off, their reward sensitivity, surely they should, have a really good drive towards it. And there's a lot of high-level athletes that have been excellent athletes or are excellent athletes who have also had serious addiction issues. Tyson Fury is the number one name that comes to my head. Phenomenal guy, phenomenal athlete. He obviously slipped off the bandwagon. Paul Merson, George Best. There's surely some sort of
because that's the negative side too, right? It can be used to bring them away from some negative addiction into something positive, like a sporting facility. However, that addiction can also go the other way as well, right?
So it is, in my ideal world, it is where I would like the research to end up going, because I do think that like it could really hopefully make a massive difference in clinic, especially clinical patients who have been referred. If you can work with them and find something that does drive them, so whether it's a sport, whether there's something creative, art, music, whatever their passion is.
Knitting, playing cards, whatever it was.
Yeah, fucking flying a kite, whatever it is. This can be, because effectively at the moment, all that seems to happen is they give them a substitute drug, or alternatively, they'll get them to go to workshops, group meetings, which all play the part, and I'm not dismissing the effectiveness of them, but the success rate also kind of speaks for itself. And if hopefully that something else can be found for each individual. Hopefully,
I think you just narrowed it. Like you made it something so complex and so simple. It's just a matter of shifting what they're driven towards, just slightly over this way, and just let them go into that thing and watch them just absolutely consume that positive thing. And God knows, I mean, if it's flying a kite, they're going to fly the shit out of that kite, and it's going to be a really nice kite, and they're going to fucking compete in kites, but they're not going to do that really negative thing anymore. But then I guess all the support groups and stuff will help them ensure that they stay that direction as well, right? Do you think, even thinking about those addictive personalities, that's where, let's talk from a powerlifting standpoint, people struggle with the idea of, I guess you don't really retire as a powerlifter, but moving away from elite level and then stepping down into more of a social style of powerlifting, or even if lifestyles change, for instance, and now they can't do it like they used to. Do you think that's definitely why they would struggle with that new concept as well?
Yeah. So I can also speak from personal experience here, because even this time last year I was a fucking animal. As I focused more on PhD and career, getting into the gym itself is hard, and I've lost about 30 kilos. There's a big identity thing there as well for a lot of people. Yeah, because they get into a sport like powerlifting and strongman, the typical characteristics of people who participate in our sports. It's their, I don't want to say their personality, but it's their main thing. It's who they are. They're the big powerlifter. The people in their family associate them as the strong dude. Everyone, when they see them, like, oh my, like, you should clearly go to the gym. And when you take a big part of somebody's not only lifestyle but identity away from them, that itself can be quite challenging. That, and if you think about what's the difference between an exercise addiction and taking your hobby seriously, it's hard to differentiate between the two. And I'm not necessarily saying that everyone involved in sports are addicted, but there's, I say to you, you've got to take a couple of weeks off the gym. You're not going to react to that quite well.
We've all got that client, bro.
So I think that,
and I always find personally, when you've said that to that person to take that week, I said, just go, do something else, for a week. Don't do the gym thing. And they're all like, I don't want to do it. I can't. It's me. I need it. Blah, blah. At the end of the week, they're like, that was really nice having a week away.
Yeah, when I was 15, my grandfather offered to pay for my whole family to go to Disneyland, Florida, Disney World,
Yep.
Florida, whichever one it is. I'd never been to
Yep.
America, never been on a holiday like that. I didn't want
Yep.
to miss 2 weeks off the gym, so I said no. I stayed
You
at home
said
because I said no. Yeah, I stayed at home.
oh,
To be fair,
Jesus.
I was 15. I was also excited about staying at home on my own for the first time. But
Yep.
I did not regret it. Like, even 2 years later, when
Yep.
my granddad would be like, you turned down going to Florida for this holiday.
Yep.
Do you regret it? And I was like, no, because I got strong.
I fucking benched every day.
Yeah, like, and because I still now have difficulty, because when I do go to the gym, I'm nowhere near as strong as I was. I don't
Yep.
look like I used to.
Yep.
Someone actually seemed surprised the other day when I said I did go to the gym, which was hurtful.
Oh no, that's heartbreaking.
But it was 10 years I was training, competing ish.
Yeah.
I did quite well, got really strong. My goal was always to get to world's strongest man. Realised a few years ago that for me that just wasn't going to happen for reason X, Y, and Z. I seemed to have a limit on what sort of body weight I could get to without feeling like I was going to die. And I was 120, 125. I was bright purple. I was needing to stop and sit down every 5 minutes.
Need a portable CPAP.
I went to the zoo with my friend, and literally every 5 minutes I was having to stop her and say, I need to sit down here. But everything that I've done in my background has led me into a situation that I never would have comprehended being in. Like, I was always kind of a dumb kid at school and stuff like that. And I fucking love my job, man. Like, working for Shane, it's absolutely mint. Like, sometimes you can, I don't know if you get like this, but sometimes you can have a bad day. It just, like, stressed with everything, overwhelmed, whatever. And you get a message from a client saying, I've just fucking smashed a PB, or look at this. This is the X record. I've done it for 3 reps. And you're like, I'm fucking class at my job, mate. It's a great feeling. Like,
oh man, I know personally. Always, like, we all work a lot as coaches. I think I don't want to say more than everyone, but we do work a lot. But at the same time, I don't go to work and complain about my job. Like, you spend your hour like in PT one-on-one style stuff, and they're like, hey, how's you doing that general interaction stuff, and they're like, oh man, fucking work today. Work was fuck, this, that. I've never done that. Like, I love it. It's
that's it. Like, I'm so, like, sometimes for me, especially because I work 7 days a week, like, because if it's not coaching, it's teaching. If it's not teaching, I've got a PhD to do. And sometimes I'm like, oh, fuck me, I need a day off, like, because I get overworked. But in regards to my job, like, because I was even thinking about it, I was like, if I need to get rid of a few clients, who would I want to get rid of? And there's nobody there. Like, I love working with every single one of them. Teaching, again, I fucking love that. It's proper buzz when you get through to a student, or the student start to understand something that was so complex. And also, I get to stand at the front and talk about something I fucking love. I get paid for it.
And you get paid.
It's like, as soon as I got rid of my own discomforts about public speaking and stuff, which happened really fast. After that, it's just like, literally, and I had a moment. It was this year, and it was actually doing about psyching strategies. I had a lecture on that, and we ran over time because my time in management's not great. And there was a lecturer waiting to come in for our room, and he came to about 2-3 minutes into his lecture time, and he knocked on the door. He was like, sorry, I'm going to have to run my class. I was like, oh, it's all right, we have literally just finished. At the end, and this is a guy who'd been at the university for about 20-30 years. He comes up to me, he was like, how did you get so engaged? Like, I walked in, there was not one student packing their stuff up. I was just like, I think when you're so passionate about what you're talking about, I think, because looking around the room as well, like, because it's a sports science module, very few of them will have specific interest. I think there's one in there who does powerlifting. The rest, like, they just enjoy sports for whatever reason. But because I did use cool videos of Shane ripping my t-shirt off, if you've seen that one, and stuff like that. A few West Side clips.
I was going to say, are you throwing up any old lifting videos on there just to get a little crowd involvement there?
because like stuff like that video of Shane ripping my t-shirt off, it's a great way of getting engagement. Everyone's laughing, everyone finds it hilarious, and because I look about 30 years younger in that video as well, then finding out it was me was a good laugh. And I've got practical classes where, I teach them how to effectively do things in the gym, and like some people are obviously 18 to 20 odd year olds are a bit nervous, shy about doing things in front of their peers. So I'll get videos of me with the world's most dog shit squat form from like back in the day, and I'm just like, you can't look as shite as this cunt. Like, so no, it is teaching. Sorry, I've gone on off a massive tangent, but teaching is especially at university age when you don't have, because I've never done high school or primary school or anything, but it's an absolute buzz. So
is it something I mean, you must pinch yourself. Like if you asked, Kurtis 10, 15 years ago, or even, early high school Kurtis, like, would you be saying you'd be PhD student, university lecturer, back then? Is that where you thought you were going to land?
No. I left school at 16, worked for Shane in his gym from then. When I first went to university as well, so my first year in undergrad, my first assignment was like, I'd put hours and hours into it because I went with the same philosophy that I'd been training with. I was like, right, I'm shit to start with. I'm just going to graft. I set myself into extra writing classes and different courses to improve my skills. My first piece of coursework, I got it back, and I'd literally put out like so much time into it. And it was shit, Mark. It was bad. And straight away, I was like, "Oh my god! Like, what have I done here? I'm not made for you." Like, in fact, when I went to university, so all my older brothers went to university straight after school. It was always kind of known that I was the one in the family who wasn't the brightest bulb. Like everyone else got pushed to go to sixth form and university. My mum was like, "Well, why don't you carry on going to the gym? You're good at that."
Yeah. Have you thought about doing a trade, son?
But when I went to university, I think this kind of sums up my family's belief in me. I had both my grandma and my stepmom, who are both lovely, by the way. It's not about they said it in a very lovely tone, and they were like, "If you have to drop out after the first year, there's no shame in that." They said it like I sound like I'm painting them. They're both such lovely people, but they almost said it as if like, you're gonna fuck this up, but we still love you.
Yeah, we'll still love you, and we'll be here when you do. It's all good. Don't stress.
But I just,
geez, they must be super proud. I mean, not that they ever weren't super proud, but geez, they must be super proud to see where you're at now, like in the PhD path, though.
Well, it is just a case of I graft. I'm just good at that. People I went to university with couldn't fathom, like, they would be going out on nights out. I'd be in the library from 5 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, literally every day with a little gap to train. Even on weekends. Obviously, my work's online as well, so going to the library is perfect for me. And I just sit in there for hours on end and go at my own pace as well. Like, I think that's probably one of the most valuable, that and learning how to supplement for this sort of thing. But the most beneficial thing that I learned was I'm not going to be the fastest guy to get something written. It's not someone I am. And just take like, if I need to take a break every 30, 40 minutes to walk around the campus, I'll do it and not sweat about it. But I, like, all day, every day, my ex-partner hated it about me because she couldn't even, never mind I was on the other end of the country, she couldn't even text me because I was so engrossed in writing essays or studying. And I think that's literally all you need to do to accomplish anything. Like, if I set my mind to being the best kite flyer in the world, in 5-6 years, I'm 100% convinced I'll be up there.
Yeah, I'm not against flying a kite. This is pretty off topic. I haven't flown one for a long time, but you do have me, like, I might have a little look on Amazon, but when we finish, just to see what the kite scenario is kind of like out there. I remember wanting a kite when I was a kid. I didn't have enough pocket money, but now I'm an adult with a job and money, I can actually buy kites, so it could be fun. And I bet there'll be a weird subculture in there too, right?
Yeah, but there's weird things in everything. Like if you speak to somebody who has no idea about strength training, strongman, if you tell them there's a whole scene about grip training and grip competitions and stuff, that it'd blow their fucking minds.
You're like, why do you do that?
You're good at a very niche part of a very niche sport.
Yeah, you're in the very tiny bit of the tiny bit. I mean, we've all got the stories of, like, back in the day when, powerlifting wasn't powerlifting, that you go to a dinner and people are like, oh, what do you do? And you're like, I do some powerlifting. Like, oh, what is that? When you throw it over your head? And I said, yeah, and we leg press too. It's awesome. But then be like, oh, and then the next question in table chat is like, oh, so what are you doing tomorrow? And like, oh, I'm going to the gym. Like, oh, but what else? I said, that's it. That's it. I'm going to work in it, and then I'm going to lift in it, and then I'm going to go home to the bed. There's no other things. And I also always wonder what people do that don't train in the gym, because I feel like they've got all this time.
Just Netflix.
Like, what do you do with it?
Netflix, other hobbies. I mean, I'm quite a hypocrite, because when I was younger and doing strongman, I used to always say, like, I just do not want that life where you go to work, you go home, you waste your day really watching Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's a case of maybe maturity, life experience, getting older. Yeah. My dreams have just completely changed. Like, when I was younger, it was all about, I just want to be, I don't care how much money I've got, I want to be the strongest person out there. Now I just want to get home after a long day's work of work I've enjoyed, get home, sit on a fucking rocking chair with me, dogs playing out in my porch, like drinking sipping on whiskey or something. Like,
perfect. Do you still get time for the barbell yourself with everything that you've got going on with studying, coaching, and lecturing, etc.?
I got in a good routine of 5 a.m.ers, so getting to the gym for 5 a.m.
Yep.
And like I said before, I've always been willing to get up early in the morning, but I'm just fucked as well. Like, and the thing is, I know what's wrong with me. I know how to resolve it, but it's boring and it's not fulfilling. So if I've got 2 hours in the gym, like, because the only real motivation I've got to train now is I just want to look like I train. Like, I've accepted I'm never getting to the 400 kilo deadlift mark, and I had my chance for that and I fucked it. But I'd like, as soon as, like, my hips just fucked at the moment, and again, I know what I should be doing for it, but getting up at 5 a.m. to try and do it, and then I know the primary issue with it is that sometimes 20 hours a day I'm in this position at this desk.
That's not good for a hip.
I'm effectively pissing on a bonfire, and we do have standing desks and stuff at the university, but I'm not fucking grafting away stood up. Like, so yes and no. I'm in and out of training at the moment, but basically, I've just accepted that the next 4 years I'm going to be grafting my ass off, and then hopefully, like, I'm just going to have life on a plate after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said earlier, you've just, for your own personal drive, you've just turned it this way. Yeah. And just gone fucking ham on that.
And it is really hard to come to terms with, because it's been about, I think my last competition was May, and that's when because I'd even said that's my last competition, put everything into that, and it was a hell of a day as well. Like, it was the first one I'd had. My university friends, they were able to come and watch. They'd never seen a show before. I won every single event, which was mint, and I got the world's coolest trophy. It was a gold gnome, and my brother collects gnomes anyway.
That's excellent.
So it was, but it is hard to come to terms with, because like 10 years of my life was just based around how much load I could pick up off the floor. But hopefully my aim is that I can add to strongman in ways that, one, nobody else can, and two, make a big difference for a lot of athletes. And if I'm doing that 100%. Through the desk jockey work instead of, lifting heavy things, and that's fine by me.
You get to have, the joy and the celebration that you personally have for yourself, but on a greater scale across many humans as well. And I don't know, for myself, like even personally these days, like I can't even remember some of the stuff I lifted in a comp. Like I did a comp in November. I don't really remember what I think it was a 270 squat or something, bench something. But I can tell you what my mates lifted that I lifted with, because we had an agreement. We're all going to do this training run together, and we're all going to lift together, and we lined it up so I didn't have to coach them on the day. And fuck, we had a hell of a lot of fun.
Well, we had I had someone competing August time, I think, last year, and like my brother happened to come with me as well to watch because it was local, and he was looking at me. He was like, "What's up with you?" My legs were shaking. I was like more hyped I've ever been in my life. For this person to be doing a random local show, and it's like, so that part is definitely, and like I said before, like when I was, don't know how to word this without sounding like a dickhead, but when I was really serious about competing, I was my own priority by like way up here. Like other clients had nothing compared to me. So if I had a big session and there was clients messaging me, I'd be like, "Fuck off! I'll message you when I'm done." Like, my own training came first, and now I'm away from that. Like the amount of fulfillment I get from coaching now in comparison to this time last year is absolutely unreal. Like I said to you before, like a client messaging me saying, "Oh, this session went well," or something like that. It just feels amazing because you're like, "Oh shit!" Like this, I've got this person at 30 kilo PB, like, because I know how much training meant to me back then. So to be able to give them something so they can smash through plateaus and things like that, and to be able to work, and get the ideas and brains from Shane as well. It's just a phenomenal position to be in. Yeah,
absolutely, brother. Mate, my good friend, what we like to do at the end of good things is we have 10 very random questions that I come up with. There is no structure, design, or anything behind it. The only thing you have to do is the first thing that pops in your head is you give me the answer that you've got. The first up I'm going to hit you with is you're Neo in the Matrix. You can have the red pill, find out the truth, or take the blue pill and not know. What are you doing?
blue, not now.
Yeah, not know. Mate, there's a few people that are keen for that, and I even think about that scene with old mate eating the steak, and he goes, I just want to eat the steak. I get that. Favourite lunch item?
Favourite what, sorry?
Lunch item. What do you like to eat for lunch?
Steak and chips.
Oh yeah, how are you cooking the steak?
Medium rare. I can talk to you about this for hours. Cook it in steak, and then I make my own drizzle so that you put on afterwards. So you get a bit of paprika in there, get a bit of garlic, pepper, salt, and then cook that in butter for literally about 10-15 seconds, and pour it on top of the steak. Bit of parsley on top of that. Fucking lush.
Stop it. That's fucking exceptional. I've got my steak cooking down pat, but I got no jus. I'm gonna have to fucking get on your jus game, I think.
It's the only thing I can cook in the world. Like I can't cook anything else.
Please offline DM me the secret recipe, and I will be a part of that. What movie setting would you like to live in?
In what sense, like a film or a genre?
Yeah, like right now, think of the movie that you love or any movie setting that you would like to pick yourself up and live in that scene right now.
Early stages of Wolf of Wall Street. Before he gets arrested.
Yeah, and the good bit. Absolutely. Best advice you've ever been given?
Oh, that's a tough one, that. Oh, God. Really corny, but appreciate the small things, like
I like that.
count your blessings sort of approach instead. I mean, like I was saying earlier in the call, like sometimes I get myself overwhelmed and stressed because I've got so much work, but I'm so blessed that every single thing I'm doing right now I completely love. And very small percent of people are in that position. So count your blessings.
I couldn't agree more. I think absolutely. What question would you like to ask your pet, your dog?
My pet. Fuck. What the fuck are you doing, you twat? Why are you licking my hand excessively?
Man, I think that would be some nice insight. Would you
Find
rather,
out what my hand tastes like.
Yeah, maybe it's nice. Maybe he likes that. Or maybe that's how he's talking to you. Would you rather eat a cake or a pie?
Sorry, what was that?
Would you rather eat a cake or a pie?
Pie.
What kind of pie?
Meat and potatoes smothered in gravy.
Oh, yeah, gravy pie. I'll fucking get around that. What board game do you dominate at?
What, sorry, would I?
What board game, so like Monopoly, etc., do you dominate everybody at?
I'm really bad at board games in general.
Oh no, we're no good at board games. Perfect. When I come to Manchester, we'll play some board games. I like winning.
I was good at a game of life, but I think that was just chance of what you rolled on the dice.
Yeah. I was good at that one, but I used to cheat. But I was real good at cheating. What do you have any tattoos? If yes, that's cool. If no, that's all right. But what would your next tattoo be if you wanted to get one?
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of tattoos. I think I've got everything I was going to get now.
You complete.
Got something for every family member I wanted to get something for.
That's cool.
Got ones for people who sadly passed away. Got ones because I love the film Braveheart. I've got Braveheart on my calf.
Oh, sick.
But yeah, I think I've like I was saying before about my focuses. I went through my tattoo phase, and now, well, I was originally going through getting myself a big pickup phase, but I've decided instead I'm putting all my money away to get a house within the next 2 years. So
that is the adult thing to do, isn't it? You can't really sleep. Well, you can sleep in a pickup. It's got a big tray.
Trust me, I've already really much thought about this. Ford Ranger or house, it's a big toss-up for me. I was actually, I don't know if you have them in Australia, but we have this like competition where you have to spot the ball. So you put like an X where you think the ball is, and whoever wins gets a dream car and 50 grand. Yesterday, I was 1 pixel off. And because the whole week as well, I was convinced I won because I spent more money than I should have in it. And because I was looking at it, I'd zoomed in, I'd got it on my big monitor, and I was like, I've won this. Like, this is in the bag.
In the bag.
And all day, Monday and Tuesday, I was waiting for the call saying, where should we drop your new pickup at? And it released the results. And I got like some money back credit, so hopefully next week's my week. But I was literally 1 pixel off. I was like,
oh, fuck, we don't have that game, but that game sounds like it would consume me. I love the idea of winning.
Well, this is it. I think I should really deactivate my accounts or stuff like that because I just convinced myself I'm going to win. Like I I was playing the lottery for a bit, and even then I was like convinced I was going to win.
Yeah, you start spending. You're like, I'm going to have that real nice house, got that pickup. I'm thinking holidays, lots of holidays. Question number 9, your favourite pizza?
Oh, yes, easy one. So barbecue base, mozzarella cheese, double up on pineapple, pepperoni, jalapenos.
Damn, that's creative.
Had it since I was about 7, never changed it since.
Never switched out.
Never switched.
I like that. Now, you've got 1 week to live. What are you doing?
1 week to live?
Yeah.
Renting a pickup, fucking off to Norway.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Probably spend a bit more time with my family and friends, I guess.
They can come in the pickup.
Yeah, they can come in the pickup to Norway. Just guilt trip everyone around me, do a fundraiser like, I'm dying in a week, get me a fucking pickup, don't be stingy.
I don't want a rental either. I want to actually own the motherfucker for a week.
I want to be buried in it.
Yeah, There we go. I love it. Mr. Curtis, that is 10 questions, an hour and 14 minutes of exceptional chatting. It has been a pleasure to have you on, mate. We do the token textbook thing of the opportunity. Tell us who you are, where do we find you, Instagrams, emails, how do people contact you? Because you've got some cool stuff. People need to follow
I am the Strongman Psychologist on Instagram. Contact me on there. Kurtis Cusimano, PhD, Sports Psychology. Want to know more about me, just go have a look at my content.
Sweet. Awesome. Brother, you're an absolute legend, mate. I've been following you for quite a while now and loved all the stuff you've been putting out. And I put a dream list together of who I want to get on the podcast, and I put you on there late last year. And as soon as we clicked into the new year, I was like, fuck, I've got to get Kurtis on. This is going to be sick. Appreciate you having on, brother. I think it'll come out about a week or so. Prepare to be famous all over the world now. Thanks, brother.
All right, mate. Thank you.